1,000 demonstrators leave Los Angeles tonight after a day-long protest. We'll have a film report as well as a report on a sports car rally for the blind.
Part of San Pedro Harbor is missing tonight, and the meat boycott protesters are giving the president a break.
Also tonight, Larry Carroll gets taken for a ride. We'll have spectacular film of the Super Bowl of motocross racing, next on Eyewitness News.
This is SeaWorld's First Family, starring in the all-new two-whale Shamu for Mayor show, with the most incredible feat ever performed by man and animal. Plus over 100 shows, exhibits, and attractions, like the Lost Isle of the Dolphins, and one low price buys them all. Now, here's an extra bonus.
Don't miss Independence Days at SeaWorld. Special entertainment plus 100 exciting shows and exhibits, all for one low price. June 30th through July 8th at SeaWorld.
Hi, I'm Van Embrich, your host on A Look at America in the 70s, a look at the needs and the problems of the urban centers of this country. With me will be the distinguished mayors of the 4 major cities in the United States: Mayor John Lindsay of New York City, Mayor Richard Daley of Chicago, Mayor Joseph Alioto of San Francisco, and Mayor Tom Bradley of Los Angeles. Join me for an hour of candid conversation and special insight into the plight of the American cities in the 70s.
Tomorrow night at 7, right here on Channel 7.
Good evening from ABC News, New York. I'm John Kelly, and here are tonight's headlines. President Nixon says he will not appear before the Watergate Committee and will not permit access to any more presidential papers. The committee chairman, Sam Ervin, says the president is doing the wrong thing. European finance ministers are meeting to discuss the failing U.S. dollar, and in Wimbledon, Czechoslovakia's Jan Kotis and America's Billie Jean King finish on top. I'll have details of these and other stories in a moment.
The ABC Weekend News with John Kelly is brought to you by Wilkinson Sword, creators of the bonded shaving system, a better way to shave.
We never met a face we didn't like. That's why Rapid Shave has aromatic oils and a lubricating skin conditioner, a special soap system to help clean and soften the skin, and extra moisturizers to soften the beard. That's why we can say, we never met a face we didn't like. Rapid Shave.
The old double edge, the advanced Wilkinson bonded. This blade can get out of line, cause nicks and cuts. This one can't get out of line, helps prevent nicks and cuts. The old double edge shaves close, but in test after test, the Wilkinson bonded shaved even closer. It has an edge of incredible keenness locked into a unique protective shaving head. The bonded blade shaves you closer. The head helps protect you from nicks and cuts. The Wilkinson bonded. A closer shave doesn't have to hurt.
Almost from the beginning, the dominant question looming over the Watergate Committee inquiry has been, what will President Nixon say to demands that he testify? Today, the president gave his answer, no. In his first direct reply to the Urban Committee, Mr. Nixon said he will not testify under any circumstances, formal or informal. And what's more, he will not open up White House confidential files on the subject. ABC's Tom Jarrell has the story at the Western White House.
This I must and shall resist. With those words, President Nixon formally notified the Senate Watergate Committee he will not testify or permit access to presidential papers. Mr. Nixon contends that no president can function if the private papers of his office, prepared by his personal staff, were open to public scrutiny. Specifically, he is barring from the committee copies of White House staff memos, letters, and personal notes. John Dean's recent testimony raised many questions which the Watergate Committee had hoped to answer by digging into such White House file material. The president contends he is not trying to withhold information relevant to the Watergate inquiry. He defends his decision on the basis of the constitutional separation of powers. His action says, in effect, that if the Senate committee wants any more information than the White House is willing to give, the committee will have to go to court to resolve the conflict between the right of a congressional inquiry studying high-level wrongdoing to look into the White House and the right of a president to refuse. Tom Jarrell, ABC News at the California White House.
The president rested his argument largely on precedent set by Harry S. Truman, who refused to obey a subpoena from a congressional committee in 1953 after he was out of office. Nixon enclosed a copy of the Truman letter, which listed George Washington and no fewer than 15 other presidents down to Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had refused to appear before congressional hearings. Leading members of the Senate committee were quick to react to the president's decision not to appear. Among them were Senators Lower Weicker and Sam Ervin. Chairman Ervin talked to ABC's Bill Zimmerman.
I don't know the precedent about President Truman. Of course, he says that happened after he left his office. But I do know the precedent set by Abraham Lincoln. And when he was president of the United States, President Lincoln voluntarily appeared before congressional committees and voluntarily testified in respect to matters they were investigating on 2 separate occasions.
Do you think he's doing damage to himself or to the presidency by refusing to come forward and tell his side of the story?
Well, I think it's very, very unfortunate for the President of the United States to engage in a course of conduct which is calculated to give the American people the idea that the President of the United States is unwilling to make a full disclosure of how his office has been conducted.
I have a great deal of respect for the presidency of the United States, so in a technical sense, I think that he probably took the right action. Now, having said that, I've also indicated that I would hope that the president would put the committee out of business. And this business of separation of powers is a lot of nonsense. The president, all he has to do is to stand up there and tell a complete story to the American people, not wait until the committee does its work, but lead in the search for the truth.
There is no indication that the president's refusal to appear before the committee affects earlier White House statements that he will give his side of the story publicly in his own time after the current phase of the hearings. Another airline said today that it had been approached by Nixon campaign fundraisers in 1972 for an illegal contribution. Vice President Jonathan Reinhardt of Eastern Airlines reported the incident, but he said Eastern refused to contribute. Yesterday, American Airlines said it had been asked for $100,000 and had contributed $75,000, most of it illegally, to the Nixon campaign. The New York Times reported today that an illegal wiretap was put on the Washington telephone of Mary Jo Kopechne after she was drowned at Chappaquiddick. This was the accident involving Senator Edward Kennedy. The Times says the tap was placed on the 2 young women who lived in the same apartment. The tap placed by 2 known White House operatives. In Basel, the 8 richest Arab nations met in Cairo. They're looking for ways to protect their deposits in foreign banks. Because most Arab deposits are in dollars, devaluation can hurt them badly. ABC's Peter Jennings reports from Beirut.
Some Arabs would like to sever their attachment to the dollar and invest in gold, for which Beirut is the Middle East capital. But money speculation for financial or political reasons is not yet part of the Arab financial plan. Banking experts feel they are simply too far away from the action in Europe and not yet well enough trained for the delicate business of financial speculation. Beirut is a free gold market, and in the present crisis, the price of gold simply follows that of the London market. Hurt in the process are the vast numbers of craftsmen and merchants who work in the popular jewelry trades. Certainly, some Arabs have bought gold in the past year to get rid of their dollars, but many more have invested in real estate. The real estate boom in this and other Arab capitals is the result. What there is no evidence of here is any government or other organizational plan to alter U.S. Middle East policy by dumping dollars in the market as a means of political pressure. Arab bankers and politicians point out that even with political intent, Arab money could not yet make a significant dent in the international market as a whole. The oil-producing states, the only ones with real money in this region, hold about $20 billion. Of the 60 or 70 billion hot dollars in the world, dollars free enough to speculate with, the Arabs have only about 3 to 4 billion. 10 years from now, when the Arab oil states are infinitely richer, it may well be a different story. As the Arab-Israeli crisis drags on, the pressure on those states to use their money politically and disruptively will become greater. But for the moment, the Arab view was summed up by one banker from Kuwait who said, to paint the Arabs as irresponsible idiots out to ruin the world's monetary system is ludicrous. Peter Jennings, ABC News,
Beirut.
22 leaders of an abortive revolt in Iraq went before a firing squad today in Baghdad. In the attempted coup last week, they assassinated the defense minister. Baghdad radio hinted there would be more executions.
What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I know. Let's do the Viva test they do on TV. Now, I'll be Viva and you can be the other tower. Okay. Boy, Viva sure beats your towel. Yeah, it sure does. And look, Viva is strong. That's terrific.
Viva. It really absorbs faster.
Now, what do you want to do?
I sweat. Oh, I used to go to parties and perspire to be social, but I fell in with a fast crowd, and soon I'd go to parties and sweat. I knew I had a problem. So I turned to Dial, antiperspirant. It helps stop odor and wetness. When I just perspired, I'd use anything. But I sweat, so I need Dial antiperspirant. Thank you.
Dial antiperspirant in regular and dry powder.
It's time to get up and all through the house. The kids are all hurrying to see Mickey Mouse. Come on, Mickey, we're in a rush. When you're around, we want to brush. Wow, it's a real honest-to-goodness battery-operated toothbrush.
Brushing with Mickey is fun.
Kenner's Mickey Mouse automatic powered toothbrush makes kids want to brush their teeth.
And that's the tooth.
The Mickey Mouse battery-powered toothbrush by Kenner.
At 10:30.
Talk it over with me, Eyewittness, nightly on KABC.
Get involved. Watch Owen Spann host the debut of Help Thy Neighbor tomorrow night at 7:30 on KTLA Channel 5, Los Angeles.
The pitch by Busby, swung on a long drive to left field. Back goes Piniella at the wall. Touchdown ball! Hit to right field and deep. Berry going back. He's got